Whenever I tell people we're entering a new market, they always say, oh, you're doing an acquisition. That is obviously people's first instinct. They think by, you taking your business and moving into a new market, the natural instinct is that the easiest way or the only way to do this is through an acquisition. That is certainly a way that you can enter a new market, but I will tell you it's not the way that we enter new markets. We spend most of our history in Southern Ontario, or the Ontario market, actually, Ontario, Canada. And over the last, handful of years, we expanded into Alberta and then BC and now into the US. We had done 0 acquisitions enter these markets. The only acquisitions we've done in the recent years are actually in Toronto, and they were just kind of tuck-in businesses. But yeah, we haven't done any acquisition to enter the new markets, and we've actually been quite successful in entering these markets with 0 presence in the market before we enter. Today, I'm going to tell you about the 3 ways that you can enter a new market if you're expanding your business and you don't have a presence in that market yet. By the way, I'm George. I am the president and owner of Impact Cleaning Services. I'm a second-generation owner. The company is 72 years old. We have over 1,000 cleaners. We're a multinational company, which is kind of cool to say. And I love what I do. I also write a free newsletter on Substack where I give away a lot of my playbooks. So if that's something of interest to you or you're looking for help on how to scale your business, you can stop paying, these gurus and you can just go subscribe to my newsletter and get a lot of these tactics for free, because I share a lot about how we are going to market, how we operate, how we scale, technology use, and so forth. Anyways, let's dive in. There's 3 ways that you can enter a new market. Here, let's take, for example, you're based in, Houston, Texas, and you want to expand into Oklahoma City. There are 3 paths to go in there. 1 is Greenfield, 2 is acquisition, or 3 is you can be pulled in by a partner of yours. I'm going to focus on acquisition first because that's the one I started talking about. And then I'm going to tell you at the end of this video which one is our favorite and how we're doing it. So acquisition is obvious. Everyone knows what an acquisition is. You go and you buy a company that already has revenue, has a book of business, has clientele, has people. You take on that business. That's how a lot of people do it. I talk to a lot of cleaning companies across North America, and many of them are doing, acquisition to enter a market, a roll-up strategy sometimes if they're doing multiple acquisitions, trying to roll them into the master brand. But this is, again, one of the more common ways and what people think is probably the best path to entering a new market, because you don't have to do anything. You get a book of revenue to start with. You can actually strip out some of the redundancies. So you can buy the company, you can take out, let's say, HR and payroll and accounting, which you probably have in your company. So you can cut that overhead down, take that money and now redeploy it back into growing that business or paying down the loan, whatever it is. But the point is, by acquiring a company, fast way to get into market, fast way to get revenue, get a team, clean it up a little bit, and then start to reinvest and compound the growth of that business. Maybe that you buy the company, you tell your clients that you have in Houston, now we're in Oklahoma City now, hey, help us, get some more contracts there so we can actually lower the multiple we pay for this business. Because if you buy that company, let's call it, $1 million, and that's equivalent to a 3 times EBITDA multiple. If you double that business in a short time, in theory, you're lowering that purchase price by about half. So your 3x multiple became a 1.5x multiple. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of acquisitions in this business, but a 1.5 times multiple for a recurring revenue company is not a bad price to pay. And I think most private equity people and people who have done acquisition will tell you that's a bit of a steal. Acquisition is the common one. But again, I don't like acquisition. I've talked about this before because there's a lot of risk. Commercial cleaning, every contract or almost every contract, 99.9% of them have a 30-day termination clause. Anybody can cancel your contract in 30 days. So if you're buying a business, let's use that 3 times EBITDA numbers. That means you're buying it for 3 years worth of EBITDA. So by buying that company, everything has a 30-day shelf life. Every contract can be ripped up in 30 days. Think about how much has to go right over 3 years to repay all that money. So you, best case scenario, assume you're retaining all that revenue and you're paying it back in 3 years. But if you buy that company and half the customers leave because they like the last owner, well, now your multiple is actually doubled. You lose half the revenue. You actually paid a 6 times multiple for that same business because, again, everything wiped out. And I know some might say, well, it's still a 3 times multiple. It's just not the same math. But again, you can look at it in different ways. This is one of the ways to go into a new market, acquisition. It's not my favorite. In fact, it's probably my least favorite of the 3, but it is a proven method that works. I know a lot of people that have done it. I have peers. Maybe you're watching this video. You know who you are. I've talked to you probably many times. I know a handful of people at least that have done it this way and have been very successful in doing it. I guess if you're going to do it this way, I think the most important thing is you should be very disciplined with your finances and your accounting. You should know your numbers really well. And you should also be willing to be very hands-on and drop into that new market for an extended period of time so that the employee base can get to know you as the owner. The customer base can get familiar with you and have the confidence that you're going to run the business the same way or better. That's what I would probably do if I was doing an acquisition into the market. Now let's move on to number 2, getting pulled in by client. Now this one is, you can make the case is the best one. And frankly, it is one of the easier ones because the client that you have, let's say in Houston, comes to you and says, hey, we have buildings in Oklahoma City. We'd like you to take them. If you have a great relationship with them in Houston, they will naturally have more trust and give you more leeway in Oklahoma City. We've had clients pull us from Toronto, let's say, to Alberta because we've built such goodwill with them, such good rapport. They know how good the work is that we do here. If let's say something environment that they're bringing us into might be out of scope. We might not have the right person to manage, whatever it is. They will give you the benefit of the doubt and allow you to ramp up appropriately so that you're both successful. But they know that they're having struggles. You have solved so many other challenges in this market that, again, you can just take your playbooks and move them over here. You just maybe need the right person, the right tools, equipment, whatever it is, but they'll give you the time to get up to speed and build the infrastructure you need to deliver the same exceptional service. And then that way you have a loyal client who already trusts you. And now you have some new revenue, and that team will get to know you. And then now you have this footprint of revenue that comes in very easily, very sticky, because again, you have the benefit of the doubt, you have great rapport with the client, and now you can just build on top of that. So once you get that revenue in, you can make more investments because now you have steady cash flow and you can grow from there. This one is, there's really no downsides to it, frankly. I guess the only downside is if you didn't have aspirations to grow into a market, or you don't have maybe the infrastructure in your business to enter a new market and still have the same level of visibility, same level of data, the same level of scheduling, finance, pay, whatever it is. If you don't have the right infrastructure in place, entering a new market and going with very old school processes does expose you to risk, because you're not going to be there every day naturally. I mean, maybe you're going to relocate, but let's assume you're not, because your family is all in Houston. Like, you're not moving long term to Oklahoma City, more than likely. You want to be there. It's your main book of business. You're not going to go and jeopardize it. You're also not going to send your best people out there. You might in the early days to get it off the ground, but you're not telling your director of operations who manages Houston and everybody loves and is the reason you got that client to give you the opportunity in Oklahoma City. You're not saying, hey, go manage Oklahoma City now. Again, they might go get it off the ground, but you're going to piss off a lot of clients in Houston if you move one of your best people over there. The downside is, again, the benefits of doing customer driven expansion into new markets is that long leash, stickier revenue. And again, it's a great logo typically. You can leverage it and kind of as a jump off point. The downside is make sure you have the right technology stack in place and that you have a good recruitment and coaching kind of system, because naturally you're either going to have a pipeline of people that you might want to pick from there, or you're going to have to go out and recruit net new, and then you're going to have to train them on your processes. So you need to have that really tight so that you can trust that they're going to carry the culture the same way as well. Because yeah, the client's going to give you a little more leeway, a little more runway, but if you make a bad hire, they don't know your process, they're doing something different than what the client's getting in Houston, in Oklahoma City, that first few hires in a market is going to have a massive effect on your corporate culture in that market. Those two things I would get right before going that customer route. You also, the worst case scenario is you burn that bridge in that market. It shortens the runway you had, or the goodwill or the leash you had with the client in your current market being Houston. Just again, go in with eyes wide open. I do think this is a great strategy for expanding into new markets, because having a customer go with you gives you revenue right out of the gate. So I do really like the strategy. Third strategy is what we call Greenfield. This is the one that I personally like the best. I like it the best because you control a lot of what happens and you can move at your own pace. You're not reliant on anybody but your abilities. You as the owner, let's call it. Me, I'm going to use myself as the example. I'm the owner. I'm the head of go-to-market for our company. The Greenfield approach is fully dictated and fully in our control, like my control. I can decide how we go to market, how we position ourselves, what sectors we're going after, what hires we're making, how we're positioning the brand, and I don't have to wait for a customer to give me the opportunity. So I can say today, if I sit in Houston and a customer has a place in Oklahoma City, but I had no desire to be in Oklahoma City and I wanted to be in, Alabama, I could say, you know what, I'm actually going to go to Alabama. And you know what, Mrs. Client, I would love to do that stuff in Oklahoma City. It's not part of our core kind of strategy. We'll take it on if it makes sense for us, but we're going to actually focus our go-to-market resources on Alabama because we see less competition. We see bigger opportunities. We see more alignment with our ICP. Whatever the reason is, but we can just kind of construct our path forward, our plan. The downside of a Greenfield approach is that you obviously have no revenue, so that all the cost you're investing into getting that market off the ground is coming fully out of your pocket. That is a downside, and why you could make a case that the client kind of pulling you in a market is more favorable, because you can still kind of do Greenfield with client pulling you. The other benefit of it is, again, you control everything in the market, the strategy, the path forward, how you're positioning your team, your company, what you're building from. So Greenfield is actually how we're doing most of our work. We have been pulled into markets by our customers, several, like Alberta and Vancouver, two notable ones. That's pretty common, I think, with cleaning companies in Canada that are kind of on one side of the coast, moving the opposite direction. Most of us get pulled with our partners and our clients into new markets. I know that happens similarly in the US. Obviously, when you get good clients, they want to take you everywhere with them, if you have a good relationship with them. But also, we don't want to just be limited to say, hey, yeah, we have, like our company, for example, we have customers in Toronto, they have buildings in Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver, so we want them to pull us there. That works really well. They can make warm intros. Warm intros are the best intros, but like typically them are moving at their cadence. And we used to do this back in the day. As we entered Alberta for the first time, like we were getting pulled in by a client, but we were on their kind of sales cycle. It had to happen when they had opportunities. Even now, we have clients from here making introductions in other markets, and they'll say, you know what, we don't have an RFP right now, so let's check back in a year and a half when we go to RFP. Year and a half is a very long time. I would rather get up and running so that when that opportunity does come up in a year and a half, I actually have a base of revenue. I have a team in the market and I'm ready for those bigger opportunities. Because again, those big cleaning RFPs are on 3, 4, 5-year life cycle or contract cycles. So if I'm waiting every time for a big swing every 1, 2, 3 years, I mean, you're going to wait a long time to get that first book. And if you don't have a presence in that market, even though you have good rapport with that client, if they're not the final decision maker, they're not high enough up the chain, like an executive level to make that call in that market, well, then you're at the mercy of that market. And that PM or director in that market is going to say to you, well, tell us the other A-class offices you have in this market. And if you don't have any, then they're going to view that as a strike against you. Even if that company loves working with you and they can vouch for you, they still want to mitigate risk. They want to know that you have people so that you don't have staffing issues. They want to know that you have managers so you can supervise the buildings. And again, all these things you need to deliver exceptional services. Customer pulling you again, you have the benefit of the relationship. But anyways, this is why we love Greenfield. We can go in and start getting business out of the gate. We did it in almost every market we've gone into. Calgary and Vancouver, you can make the case that a client pulled us in. It was more of a Greenfield strategy. We actually started marketing into these cities before we entered. So we had a presence, we had an office, and then a client was kind of pulling us at the same time we were generating revenue. So again, you can kind of say we did both strategies, but really Greenfield is our favorite approach. When we're entering a new market, we can turn on SEO, we can turn on ads, we can do content targeted there, we can do outbound targeted, email, cold calling, LinkedIn, door knocking, events. There's a ton of things you can do. And if you know your go-to-market strategy, if you know your strengths, your value proposition as a company, you shouldn't have a tough time entering any market. And I can tell you this because we have a .ca domain. And for years, we've been reaching out to the US and not once has somebody said to me, I'm not going to do business with you because you're a Canadian company. So you can actually enter any market rather quickly and easily if you just put the effort in, the time in, and you do the activities, because a lot of opportunity out there. So you can either wait for the right acquisition, you can wait for a customer to pull you in, or you can just start it today. It's not that daunting. It's not that scary. Yes, there are risks when you win an account. The Greenfield way, you got to then get up to speed quickly and maybe drop people into the market to help you get off the ground. But again, my kind of approach has always been say yes and figure it out. And it's almost always worked out. Anyways, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, give me a comment. Did I miss anything? Have you tried another strategy? Have you tried one of these 3? Have any of them failed you? Have you succeeded with ones? Do you like the order differently? Tell me what you think. I'd love the feedback. Like I said, I read a free newsletter. It's called The Janitor's Journal. It's at Substack. The link's below. I give away playbooks on a weekly basis for free to help people like you scale your cleaning company or just get better at managing cleaning services. That's all. Love you. See you later.